This is M. Baxley. Welcome to another episode of the Paddle and Portage Podcast. Today we're headed to the edge of the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness, a hiking trail that continues to grow in popularity and use. The Border Route Trail is a 65-mile-long hiking trail that crosses the eastern side of the BWCA. Above the Gunflint Trail, it follows the international border between Minnesota and Ontario. It was the first long-distance wilderness backpacking and hiking trail in Minnesota, planned and constructed by volunteers. In the spring of 2025, just as the ice was leaving many of the lakes across the Boundary Waters, Joe, who many of you listeners know I call Freddie, met up with a group of volunteers to learn more about the history, current status of, and future of the Border Route Trail. Let's head to the woods.
We're out here on a spur of the Border Route Trail near Loon Lake and spending the day, this chilly morning in spring, with the Border Route Trail Association, a group of volunteers that are out here today from the BRTA, working to get the trails ready for the upcoming season. We're in the quota season now. Got some overcast skies. The sun pops out intermittently. It's about 41 degrees. The group was out yesterday and had some snow. It's pretty saturated on the trail. Some definite swampy, kind of soupy areas going on. But it's beautiful, of course, moving through these cedars here by Loon Lake. It's a spectacular part of the trail. I think this section gets used quite a bit, this spur. People from Loon Lake Lodge and probably other resorts nearby that utilize this section. So it's very established here where this trail is. We're outside the wilderness, as we're going to learn in the episode, and so you can hear chainsaws being used. Let's get up here and see what's going on.
Hi, I'm Pam Tavernier, and I am the president of the Border Route Trail Association. This is my second year, and today we are out as volunteers. Today we're working off Loon Lake, and this is on the non-wilderness section. There's the west end, which is approximately 17 miles, I believe, and the east end is 13, or vice versa. I can't think right now. But both the east and west ends are non-wilderness, so we can use mechanized equipment here. And we're using brush cutters, chainsaw today, and we will also be lobbing, blazing. And because we're doing the Bryce Brion, which is a spur trail, that'll be white blazes, and then the regular BRT is on blue blaze. Once you get into the Boundary Waters, there is no mechanized equipment, except under very, very, very specialized situations, which has to be authorized. And I think we better go. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Seth. I'm volunteering with the Border Route Trail this weekend, up here on the Loon Lake today, clearing trail.
How'd you find out to get involved with BRTA?
Through their website, and I've been wanting to hike the trail for a couple of years now and just couldn't find the time, and decided to try to put some good karma out there and come out and volunteer for a few days on a project before I come out and kind of experience it through leadership with Gary and Pam and stuff like that.
Yeah. And how's this been going these couple days?
Super fun. Like, it just feels really good to be outside, and the trail's beautiful. And I think we're lucky this year. So far, cross our fingers, there's not a lot of big stuff down, so we're making some good progress.
Yeah, cool. Are you into like backpacking? Is that kind of a thing that you do? I'm more of
a trail runner is kind of my thing. Is more of a doing ultra marathons and stuff like that. But backpacking, my 2 years I've been trying to figure out how I can do a through hike at the BRT and the SHT, stuff like that. Maybe the KEC. I do a lot of volunteering with the Ice Age Trail Alliance down where I live in Cumberland, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. And so it's just kind of like volunteering and just trail work is super rewarding, fun, yeah.
And so you found out about the BRT from their website, or you found out about volunteering through the site?
Yeah, a little bit of both. They have a volunteer section on there and how to get involved, and then so then I can't remember where I saw the postings at for the work weekends, but then I just scooped up the first one that I had a free weekend on, and
cool.
Here we are.
That's great. Do you get into the Boundary Waters much? Is that the thing you've done?
I've been there about a half dozen times in my 20s. It was kind of a family thing. We did it like 5 or 6 years in a row. We would go 6 to 8 of us with a bunch of canoes and boats, and we'd take a week and we'd go in, and yeah, just the peace and just the energy you get out of the woods is, and then just, my knees feel better when I'm walking in dirt and leaves and sticks. And, I love the ups and downs. Like, I never met a hill I couldn't hike, and I love getting to the top of hills or mountains and what's around the next corner, not being able to see it up where, it's okay if you're in the cities and you're walking around a lake and it's beautiful, but like, this is rugged, relentless. It's everything that I search for this kind of trail.
Nice, that's great. And Pam's really emphasizing to me that the need for younger volunteers, and I think amongst the group you're probably like the youngest person. Or
yep. So I'm in my 50s, and so then I'm looking for 40-year-olds to come help me, and 30-year-olds to be like, come on, let's get on the trail, because we need to step up and learn it. So when they finally be like, hey, hand the reins off, we're not gonna mess it up, and ruin the good thing that they have going.
Yeah.
Like, I know if, like, for me personally, it's just like when I'm out trail running or whatever, I talk with trail. Are you a volunteer on the trail? Do you like to give back to the trail? Like, I try to work it as like give back to the the community that you're using to experience pleasure and get joy out of, and just to give back. But if it's, you got the volunteer bug in you, you kind of you just got to get them in it one time, and usually you can get them hooked into it, and then it's just, trying to get them out more and more and more.
Support for this episode of the podcast comes from Borderland Lodge, inviting listeners to unwind, explore, and create lasting memories against the backdrop of the Boundary Waters. They're offering pet-friendly cabins, lakeside lodge rooms, and cozy weekend dining along the shores of Gunflint Lake. You can find more about Borderland at their website, borderlandlodge.com. Also, check out their Instagram page for some of the incredible Italian pasta meals that Steph is making up at Borderland. Oh my goodness, check it out, Borderland Lodge on Instagram and Facebook, or their website, borderlandlodge.com.
Hello, I'm Bear Paulson from North Star Canoes. This is titled Minnesota is Unique. Sven and Ole got stuck here and never left. We have more Scandinavians per capita than the countries clustered around the Baltic Sea. We are the land of Lutefisk and Lefse. Rocky and Bullwinkle added to our uncommon fame. Frostbite Falls is the icebox of the nation. I cheered when it was below zero for the Super Bowl in Minneapolis a while back. We needed that to cement our frigid reputation. Minnesota is also unique in having 3 major watersheds. From the BWCA, paddlers can go north to Hudson Bay, or east to the Atlantic, or with some portaging south down the Mississippi. North Star is unique too. We build canoes with an incredible blend of seaworthiness and efficiency. Seaworthiness means you'll be safe when the wind kicks up. Efficiency lets you get where you want to go. North Stars are easy to paddle on glassy days, and safe to paddle on rough ones. Rent a North Star at nearly all the BWCA outfitters, or purchase a new one from retailers nationwide.
Here's the Trooper Hugh, still all bundled up like it's
Eskimo.
We start going uphill yet?
Not quite.
Not quite yet.
It's a long way. So I got to this wonderful sunny spot and I said, hey, this is a great place to take a break. But what really was exciting were the Princess Pines and the fact that they're wildly working on reproduction already. So you can see the Princess Pines that have the little, they look like cattail, seed bodies. Well, that's exactly a similar thing. And of course, this is called a club moss, and this is what all the peat bogs in Minnesota come from. And So you see wonderful, and some are already, producing their spores. But wait a minute, the snow isn't completely melted, and they're completing their reproductive cycle because the sun's going to grow. This is the best light that they'll have all year. And you'll also notice that a lot of the runners, you'll see, and there's several places around here where you can see where there's a runner of that coming down that is, the other way that they, up underneath the leaf litter, and it's popping up through the leaf litter now. Just fascinating.
What's your last name?
Carlson.
Gary Carlson?
Yeah.
What's the story with this trail?
Well, so back in the early 80s when we were working on this section of the trail, two Minnesota Rover members, John Bryce and Sheila Brion, worked on the trail a number of times. And they were a couple that had met in Rovers and were doing very well. Well, they were on a go down to the Elroy Sparta bike trail for the weekend trip, the two of them. And unfortunately, a kid drove across the state highway they were on in southeastern Wisconsin at very high speed, T-boned their car. All three were killed. And the family said, gee, what could we do to remember those two? And they raised some money, and the Rovers built the Bryce Brion Trail as part of a potential loop on the Border Route Trail that captured Loon Lake, which was always here but invisible from the top of the ridge. So that's the Bryce Brion.
And when you say the Rovers, what's a little more about the Rovers?
Well, the Minnesota Rovers Outing Club has been around since the 50s, and the Minnesota Rovers built the Border Route Trail. Starting in 72, particularly a gentleman named Ed Solstead was the driving spirit behind the trail. The Forest Service, the Rovers were basically talking to the Forest Service about why don't we have any backpacking trails in the 70s in Minnesota. And the Forest Service was like, we don't have any money for backpacking trails. And after getting pestered for a while, they said, oh, well, if you want to build this trail, we, have it on our plans, but we have no vision of building it. So with a ragtag collection of borrowed, begged equipment, and originally including things like axes, the Minnesota Rovers set out to, starting here at Loon Lake, but on the other side of the lake, to clear the wilderness part of the trail, which is what the Forest Service had plans for, about 35 miles to McFarland Lake. Gee, they knocked that off in 2 years, and where else could we go? So they kept going, and on mostly state and federal land into the Grand Portage State Forest. They cleared the trail actually all the way to Grand Portage Monument Trail at one point, with a kind of wink and a nod with a couple people on the reservation who were in favor, but then later the reservation said, no, you don't really have permission to do this. So that part was abandoned. But that section was finished in the later 70s, and well, how can we move the trail along here? And the notion of a trail from Bridal Falls, and where the cutoff had been starting the trail, building a trail across the high cliffs, there was nothing here. The trails that Gunflint Lodge built later were all done, after the Border Route was immensely successful here, and opened up a whole new tourism opportunity for the resorts around Gunflint Lake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Ed is somebody that we should really give a nod to, huh?
Well, Ed, was recognized by the Forest Service for more than 9,000 hours of volunteer time. I'm sure it was double that. Ed lived the Border Route Trail. Unfortunately, he's in memory care at this point. But he really spirited trail construction in this whole thing, going back to the early 70s.
I got a chance to meet Ed a few times over the years, and what a gracious, thoughtful man he was. Really supported the podcast when we were first starting the station. Just a heck of a nice guy.
Yeah, and Ed, I was an intern working for the Governor's Trail Advisory Committee in 1975, just out of college, and Ed was the backpacking guy on the Governor's Trail Advisory Committee, and he kept pestering me, you should come on a real trail building trip. So in Memorial Day weekend of '76, I went backpacking with them into the Pigeon River east of McFarland, lugging the chainsaws, and back then we had ancient heavy chainsaws, and all the other stuff was very cobbled together. We had no funding, no anything, but that was how it got built.
Wow. What was the forest like on that trip? Do you remember?
Well, I do, and the forest there hasn't had the dramatic disturbances of the fires here, so it's still, it certainly has progressed over 40 years. The birch have disappeared, the spruce are dying out now, so the forest is constantly evolving, but the basic appearance at hiking through it is still a very mixed forest. There are some areas over there that have been logged, but most of that's happened 20, 30 years ago now. So it's the wonderful thing about the Border Route is it just keeps going through completely different sections of the forest, and that experience is priceless.
Do you have a favorite section or spot you like?
I would have to say the area by Gigobic Lake is kind of a very nice part in my book. I hiked the trail, possibly one of the earliest people doing what was then the whole thing. I came out here at Loon Lake, and I started at Grand Portage at Lake Superior and hiked up the Grand Portage Trail onto our then, cleared Border Route section right along the Pigeon, and came out at Loon Lake because none of this existed yet. But Gigobic stands out from that trip.
Almost 50 years ago, a group of friends met at a diner and began to organize a movement. They formed a group dedicated to preserving the pristine waters and forests of northeastern Minnesota. Through grassroots organizing, they helped pass the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness Act, which protected the boundary waters for future generations. Today, that organization, Friends of the Boundary Waters, continues its work to protect, preserve, and restore this cherished wilderness. Whether it's through fighting toxic mining proposals at the edge of the Boundary Waters or introducing the next generation to the wonders of the BWCA, our strength is in our members. It is in you. To learn more and find out how you can join this community today, please visit friends-bwca.org.
Hey Paddle and Portage listeners, this is Kate from Bending Branches. If you're like us, paddling isn't just something you do, it's part of who you are. And when you're out on the water, your paddle isn't just a tool, it's your connection to the adventure. At Bending Branches, we take that seriously. For over 40 years, we've been handcrafting canoe and kayak paddles right here in northwestern Wisconsin. We obsess over every detail, making them lighter, stronger, and built to last. Because we know what it's like to be deep in the wilderness, where every ounce of weight matters and every stroke counts. We test our paddles the best way we know how, by using them, on winding rivers, glassy lakes, and carrying them on backcountry portages. Crafted with tradition, engineered for adventure, designed by paddlers for paddlers. So, before your next trip, stop by your local paddle shop or outfitter and find the Bending Branches paddle that's right for you. Because great adventures start with great gear, and the right paddle makes all the difference.
This is great to be out here today.
Well, what's the amazing thing about this is that this whole thing has been done by hundreds of volunteers over 50 years now. And that's an incredible story.
So was the Crab Spur Trail like the original kind of on or off ramp?
That was one of the earliest, there's the Mayhew Lake, there's a number of those little spurs that enabled crews to get in and out, backpacking, and that's what they're all about.
Yep.
Some of them were in existence, some are old logging tote roads.
Yeah.
But the thing that's so amazing about the Border Route is that most of it was laid out specifically to be in the Boundary Waters, a backpacking trail, specifically to get to those overlooks, to find those incredible ridge lines. And that's pretty unique in trails. Most of them were old roads or other things, and much of the North Country Trail is in that kind of realm. Hey, we're following an old road through the forest, which is wonderful. But this was built to capture those vistas and conquer those hills, unfortunately, to get there. But a really unique experience to be able to go overlook to overlook and all across the Canadian border. But the real story is all the people who have done this. It's the crews.
The crew coming up behind us right now. Part of
for
it.
sure.
I mean, they're just part of the legacy of the trail.
Yeah, and we have a couple of newbies on the crew, which is pretty much always the case. But, when I think about, how did this thing make it through 50 years, it's that. Mm-hmm.
That's the
so
story.
I'm going to direct them down to the campsite.
To check it out?
Pardon?
To look at it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll be down there with my camera, so I'll be waiting down there for
Okay.
them. Thanks for that conversation, Gary. I appreciate that. Thank you. Hi, Pam.
Hi, I gotta take pictures of the campsite for a Facebook page, for
Nice.
Instagram.
Yeah, social media.
Yeah.
You want to be in it? You want me to take it and you're in it?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
I'm certainly happy
Sure.
to. I know some people that winter camp here.
Yeah. After last night, I was so cold.
You were, huh?
I
You don't have a good sleeping bag or something?
don't know what I did wrong, but
Would you stay at this campsite?
I would, but we haven't.
Uh-huh.
This is nice.
Yeah, it's a gem, huh? Sun wants to peek out.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know I've been on this trail, but it's been several years. I've been on the upper trail that goes up to Bridal Falls.
Uh-huh.
And Bridal Falls is a long trek, and we didn't get all the way through. It was raining.
Yeah.
And that day, if you've noticed, our age range is probably from 50 to 75. That is one of the biggest problems I see with our volunteer group. We really, really, really need the younger generation to step up. So when we were doing the other trail to Bridal Falls, it was raining and more slippery, and we didn't make it all the way. We made probably 2/3 of the way, but you have to make a judgment call because people are getting tired and wet, and you don't want, when they're tired, that's when the accidents happen. So we went back after, it was still a long day, but we didn't accomplish the goal. You can have goals, and then you got to reconfigure them. So,
Sure.
anyway.
How come you come at this time of year to do
Less
the work?
bugs. Absolutely. And it's not as hot. It's the bugs. So I haven't seen any mosquitoes, haven't found any ticks yet, but probably when we come back in 2 weeks, I imagine we'll find ticks. Last year, I swore I sat in a nest. They were just crawling from everywhere.
Really?
Yeah, but they were wood ticks. Didn't see any deer ticks. Doesn't mean they're not here.
Ticks give you the creeps?
I'm from Illinois. We had ticks all the time.
Yeah.
So they probably do more now because I am more knowledgeable about the spread of disease. But otherwise, no.
Ignorance was bliss, huh?
Yeah, see a tick, pull it off. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, well, should I save this tick, wait a while? But anyway, so far I've not had any adverse effects from the ticks that I have had.
So as the president, do you feel a sense of kind of inclination, or you're meant to keep morale high in the group on a day like yesterday when there's snow and rain and cold, like, do you kind of think about how to boost the spirits, or is it, how do you navigate that?
I think when the days are hard, I am more cautious and just check on people a lot, because I'm an RN, retired, but I want safety is paramount. So, and being kind and just just talking and making sure people are telling you where they're at. Because we had one person that was dizzy after doing the brush cutting, and it's like, okay, time to switch jobs, sit down, hydrate, eat, take care of people. That's kind of what I do.
Yeah, not so much trying to tell jokes or captivating stories.
Well, it depends on the day, and we don't. It depends if you have people you know and repeated trips. The first day we're kind of getting to know each other and the camaraderie and stuff like that. So, but everybody's worked really well together. We've not had any issues.
Cool.
And that is how I found it. This is my 10th maintenance trip in 3 years. Maybe I started in 21. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's every few weeks in the spring and in the fall that you come up, or
Gary
the group?
Gary and I do non-wilderness trips twice in May, usually. We have had to cancel before because of flooding and the roads closed and stuff like that. And the trail just wasn't safe to be on. Then we try to do one in the fall. But then so this year, for the BRT, we have, I believe, 5 trips going out. 1, 2, 3 are in the boundary waters, 6 trips, and 3 are in the non-wilderness.
For this type of trail maintenance trips, you mean?
All trail maintenance.
Yeah.
We're not building any new trail.
Yeah. Yeah. And
this time.
That's cool. And the trail's in pretty good shape, would you say, or how is it generally speaking?
Last year I did my first Boundary Waters trip, and it was on Mucker Lake Spur Trail. And the blowdown was brutal. We had like 100 yards almost of blowdown that we had to work through with hand saws and cross cuts. And although it was very hard, I have to say it was really satisfying to see the before and after. I could take that before picture and it's like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get through that? And then afterwards, it was so awesome. So, and then the way you do it, because I was new to that, we were at the beginning, 2 people crawled and went around and found the trail on the other side, and then we worked towards each other. So, and we limbed them, and then we cut them with hand saws and cross cuts. It was fun, but it's work. But it was a beautiful day, like bright and sunny. So, and the other thing about that trip that was really awesome, our trail leader, we had been working, and it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon when we came to that big blowdown. Our age range was 50 to 80. And some were like, okay, let's go, let's hit it. Others were like, oh my gosh. And our trail leader said, let's wait, come back tomorrow when we're fresh. And we did that, and then we just went through it. So he made a very good decision.
Yeah, cool. And are you camping out on those wilderness trips, like in the backcountry, or are you?
Some of them are paddling in and camping. Some of us, that trip we glamped it. We stayed at Clearwater Lodge in a bunkhouse, and they fed us breakfast before we went out. So kudos to all the lodges that support us. They are all awesome.
If you want to support the Border Route Trail, click on the links to their website that we have included in this episode. The BRT crew are looking for volunteers, specifically younger folks, to help keep this trail open and available for public use. These are public lands, so it's important we all do our part to keep these trails accessible. As always, Thanks to our sponsors for their support on this episode. And thanks to you, the listener. We appreciate you.